Hi, I'm Pudifalda. Welcome to yet another biology class. Today we will discuss about the life process and the topic is respiration of standard 10. Now, when we hear the word respiration, we think it's the respire. It means exchange of gases, intaking of oxygen or discharging of carbon dioxide. But it is not the respiration, it is the part of the respiration. So, what is the respiration? Respiration means the process by which food is oxidized and discharging the energy. So, respiration means the process, it's an intercellular process, it occurs within the living cell where the food is going to be oxidized and discharge the huge amount of energy. Now, in case of the respiration always evolves or the liberates the energy, or as a result of respiration, energy is created. That's why it is termed as a exothermic reaction. We know that respiration is a catabolism. Catabolism. So catabolism is a type of metabolism where the complex compound are going to be break down into the simple one, that known as a catabolism. So in case of the respiration, the respiratory substance or the substance which is used in respiration, suppose the glucose, it's going to be oxidized and creating the carbon dioxide, water and even the energy. So the complex component like glucose are going to be break down into the simple one. That's why it is termed as a catabolic metabolism. The third one, respiration. In case of the respiration, it can be take place at the presence of atmospheric oxygen or in the absence of atmospheric oxygen. Clear? Now, respiration always release the energy which is stored within the food. Now, why the respiration is important, or what are the significance of respiration for the living organism? We already know that respiration produces the energy, or as a result of respiration we can get the food will discharge the energy. Now this energy are going to be used in various activity of the living organism, mainly in the temperature regulation, metabolic activity, and the third one in the gases exchange. Now next, in case of the seed germination, the seed uses the sugar and some organic substance as the respiratory substance. In some animals like the fire flies, they are converting their additional number of energy or excessive amount of energy which are produced as a result of respiration into the to produce the light. The some fish can produce the electricity. For an example, electric ray fish or the electric eel. Now, what happened in this? Respiration produce the energy. This excessive amount of energy can produce the electricity, and this electricity used as the protection for in case of those type of animals. Now, next, respiration and the breathing. We know that breathing means exchange of gases, intaking of the air that known as the inhalation, and discharging of carbon dioxide that termed as the exhalation. So breathing are the inhalation and the exhalation. Now, whereas the respiration takes place within the cell, it's an intercellular process where the food is oxidized and discharging the energy. Now, breathing known as a external respiration because it does not occur within the cell, whereas the respiration is a intercellular process. Now in breathing, there is no involvement of the enzymes, but in case of the respiration, some enzymes may be required. Breathing does not produce any type of energy from the food, but respiration produces the energy by the oxidation of food. Now, next, the types of respiration. Types of respiration. There are the two types of respiration present. One is the aerobic and another one is the anaerobic. Aerobic respiration. Some living organism can intake the atmospheric oxygen directly. They are known as the aerobic organism. Now, if the respiration takes place at the presence of atmospheric oxygen, that is known as a aerobic respiration. We are performing the aerobic respiration, where the respiratory substance glucose C6H12O6 fully oxidize at the presence of oxygen, it is the atmospheric oxygen in cytoplasm. The food is assimilated in cytoplasm, that will be converted into the pyruvate acid or pyruvic acid, pyruvate. Now this pyruvate enter into the mitochondria or at the presence of oxygen. At the presence of oxygen, these are going to be converted into the carbon dioxide, water, and release almost as a result of 38 ATP, the total amount of ATP in case of the aerobic respiration. But in case of the anaerobic respiration, some organism like the yeast, they does not require the atmospheric oxygen. They are not able to intake the oxygen from the atmosphere. They are known as an anaerobic organism. Now, the respiration take place at the absence of atmospheric oxygen, that is known as a anaerobic respiration. Now, in case of the anaerobic respiration, the food are going to be partially oxidized and discharge the less amount of energy. During the vigorous exercise, we are performing our muscle cell performing the anaerobic respiration, where due to in the presence of insufficient amount of oxygen, our muscle cell can produce the lactic acid. Now this lactic acid, the muscle cells are able to store this lactic acid, and that creates the cramps. Now that known as a lactic acid fermentation. In case of the yeast, they can produce they having the two type of enzyme. One is the gymase and the another one is the invertase. In the absence of oxygen, their respiratory substance glucose can convert into the ethyl alcohol or the ethanol, that known as a fermentation or the alcoholic fermentation. It is a type of anaerobic respiration. So by judging this type, we can create a new definition of respiration. So respiration is an intercellular process or the biological process where at the presence of atmospheric oxygen or absence of atmospheric oxygen, the food is going to be fully oxidized or the partially oxidized, and discharging the full energy which is present within the food, or partial energy will be discharged which is present within the food. Now the next one, the stages of respiration. Now here present the two stages in case of the respiration. First one is the external respiration. External respiration. External respiration, we know about the breathing, the exchange of gases, and the another thing, the gases exchange by the alveoli. So, when the oxygen mix with the blood, when the oxygen mix with the blood or around the alveoli they are present a huge amount of blood vessel. Now these alveoli are going to be or discharging the oxygen to mix with the blood by the diffusion. These are termed as a gaseous exchange. Similar oppositely, the carbon dioxide will be discharged into the alveoli from the bloodstream, that are known as a gaseous exchange by the alveoli. These are the external respiration. Now, when this oxygen, when the mix with the blood or the blood contain a pigment that known as a hemoglobin that will mix with the oxygen forms the oxyhemoglobin and the carbon. Now this oxyhemoglobin are going to be circulated around the cell. When this oxygen are going to enter into the cell, that known as a internal respiration. Clear? Now how this respiration take place? How this respiration take place? Generally, this respiration take place or the aerobic respiration take place by the using of three phases. First one is glycolysis, second one is Krebs cycle, and the third one is ETS, electron transport system. Suppose this is a cell. This is a cell. Now food is going to be assimilated with the cell cycle. Then the first phase of respiration takes place, where in the absence of oxygen, the food are going to be partially oxidized. If the food is glucose, then at the absence of oxygen within the cytoplasm, these are converting into the pyruvic acid or the pyruvate and release to ATP. These are the first phase of respiration that can take place in both type of respiration. It may be take place in aerobic or anaerobic. These are the glycolysis. Now, three scientists, Emden, Meyerhoff and Parnes, first observed this. That's why it is known as a EMP pathway. EMP pathway. So what are the glycolysis? Glycolysis are the first phase of respiration. It is the common in the aerobic or the anaerobic respiration. When the food, respiratory substance of the glucose are assimilated with the cell cytoplasm, then it starts. At the absence of oxygen, this glucose will be converted into the pyruvic acid and released to ATP. ATP is the energy currency or adenosine triphosphate, that known as a glycolysis. Now three scientists together observed it for the first time. That's why it is known as a EMP pathway. What are the three scientists? Emden, Meyerhoff and the Parnes. Now this pyruvic acid enter into the mitochondria. And the most important phase of the respiration start, that known as a Krebs cycle. Where at the presence of the oxygen, this pyruvic acid or the pyruvate are oxidized fully. Pyruvic acid are oxidized fully and release carbon dioxide and 32 ATP. These are the phase. This Krebs cycles occurs only in aerobic organism or in case of aerobic respiration. Now the Hans Krebs first observed this. That's why it is known as a Krebs cycle. Even the first product of Krebs cycle is a tricarboxylic acid. That's why it is also known as a TCA cycle. Because the first product of Krebs cycle is a tricarboxylic acid. That's why it is termed as a TCA cycle. Now, by the using of some electron carrier like the NAD, The inner membrane of mitochondria extract the ATP that known as a ETS and maybe give rise of the 4 ATP which take place in the inner membrane of mitochondria. These are the three phases. Now count this ATP. In case of the glycolysis 2, in Krebs cycle that is the 32 plus 2, 34 and the 4 means 38 ATP. So in case of power respiration where the aerobic organism, the 1 mole glucose will be oxidized and produce the 38 ATP. But in case of the anaerobic respiration, only this glycolysis takes place. Only this glycolysis takes place. Now, how the plant performing their respiration? Generally, plant can performing respiration through the stomata, plant respiration in plant. Through stomata. We know that the huge amount of pores present on the leaves that known as a stomata, and the opening and closing of stomata are controlled by the gut cell. When the stomata is open, then by using of diffusion, gases exchange can take place from the environment to the interior region of the leaves, or through lenticule. Through lenticels. What are the lenticels? Lenticels means in case of the woody stem, some pores may present in the stem that known as a lenticel. So by using this lenticel, also the gases exchange can take place by the help of diffusion that known as a lenticellular respiration, or by roots. Generally, in case of the roots, we know that the unicellular fibrous-like structure present or hair-like structure present that known as a root hair. Now, this root hair plays important role for the respiration. Now, between the space of the soil particles may some amount of oxygen or the gases present. These root hairs can consuming this oxygen which present between the soil particles and transported it into the root cell. In the opposite way, they can discharge the carbon dioxide within the soil. These are the respiration in plants. The stomatal respiration, lenticular respiration, and the respiration by roots. All are take place by the help of diffusion. Now, one thing already in the nutrition we discussed about the photosynthesis. Now, what are the difference between the photosynthesis and the respiration? What are the difference between the photosynthesis and respiration? The first one, photosynthesis is a type of anabolism. Why it is type of anabolism? Because in photosynthesis, simple components are combined and forms the complex one. So carbon dioxide and oxygen will be combined and forms the glucose. Whereas the respiration is a catabolism. Respiration is a catabolism. Why? Because glucose will be oxidized and this will be break down into the carbon dioxide and water. In case of the photosynthesis, It's an endothermic process. It's an endothermic process. Endothermic process because it does not produce the energy but it requires the energy. Whereas the respiration is an exothermic process. Exothermic process. Now, the third part. In case of the photosynthesis, the energy will be stored. Energy will be stored within food. Within food. Now, the next one, in respiration, this energy will be released. Energy will be released by the oxidation of food. Oxidation of the food. Now next one. In case of the photosynthesis, the plant will produce the oxygen. During the photosynthesis, the plants liberates the oxygen, but in respiration, it produces the carbon dioxide. These are the difference in between the photosynthesis and the respiration. That's enough for today. Tomorrow we will discuss about the respiration in living organism, including the animals. Or mainly we will discuss about the respiration in human beings.